Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something most of us probably don't think about much.
Locks.
Exactly, the global locks market. And you might think, how exciting can locks be? But honestly, this is a surprisingly dynamic field.
It really is.
Yeah.
Super crucial for understanding security. Yeah, but also wider building trends globally.
Right. And our insights for this deep dive come from some really interesting excerpts. It's the Global Locks Market Growth Projections 2021-2033 report.
From cognitive market research, yeah. Good stuff in there.
Definitely. So the big question we're asking today is, what are the key takeaways? What are the maybe unexpected growth stories in this industry we rely on every single day, but, well, barely notice?
Finding those aha moments.
That's the goal.
Exactly. We want to basically cut through the numbers and pull out the most important bits of knowledge from the report. Help you, the listener, get up to speed fast on what's actually driving this market. Because it's much more active than people think.
Okay, let's get into it then. Starting big picture.
Yeah.
The global revenue.
Always a good place to start.
So get this, back in 2021, the market was already worth nearly $14.8 billion.
Which is pretty substantial.
Right. And it's projected to hit over $18.4 billion by 2025. And then looking further out to 2033, almost $29 billion.
Wow, okay. That's serious growth.
It really is. It works out to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of almost 5.8% over that whole period.
At least 5.8%
Mm,
annually. For something like locks, that's pretty remarkable, actually.
seems like it, yeah.
And what's really interesting is, how that growth ties back to some, really fundamental things the report points out.
Like what?
Well, first off, just sheer urbanization globally. You've got millions of new apartments, offices, whole new city sections popping up, especially in, emerging economies. And every single door, every window almost needs a lock or several.
Right, just the volume alone.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
density just fuels massive, predictable demand. Then you've got increasing security needs.
Uh-huh, people wanting better security.
Yeah, and not just homeowners. Think commercial, industrial sectors
Yeah.
demanding higher security, tamper-proof stuff. Plus, there's the whole digital security angle with smart locks now.
Ah, the smart locks. That's the third driver.
You got it. The adoption of smart locks is, well, it's really shaking things up. It's not just about opening your door with your phone. It shifts the whole game from just mechanics to, integrated home systems. It means higher prices, maybe even subscriptions, big revenue boost.
Okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense when you lay it out like that. So that's the global view. But where's this growth actually concentrated regionally?
Good question. Let's break it down.
Let's start with North America. How are things looking there?
Okay, North America, still a huge piece of the pie, obviously. It was valued around $4.3 billion back in 2021, and it's expected to climb to nearly $8 billion by 2033. So that's a CAGR of just over 5.1%.
5.1%. Okay, so still growing, but that's a bit less than the global average you mentioned, the 5.8%.
Exactly, and that kind of tells a story, right?
Meaning a more mature market, maybe.
That seems to be the takeaway, yeah. The report suggests North America, while it's growing steadily, is more developed in this space. You look at the U.S. massive share, projected over $6.5 billion by 2033. But then Canada's growth is actually forecast to be a bit quicker, relatively speaking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Canada's set to nearly double its market value, hitting over $870 million. And Mexico's also showing strong growth, nearly $500 million projected.
So solid, significant growth, but maybe not the real explosive stuff.
Precisely. Steady climb, you could say.
Got it. Okay, let's hop across the pond. Europe. What's the picture there?
Europe's contributing solidly, too. It started at just over $3.1 billion in 21, and it's projected to reach nearly $5.8 billion by 2033. So the TIGR there is just under 5.3%, pretty close to North America's rate.
Okay. Any standouts within Europe?
Definitely. Germany's the big one. It leads Europe, and it's projected to almost double its market size to over $1.2 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, and Spain is actually growing really strongly, too. Both Germany and Spain have KGRs over 5.5%, Spain even hitting 5.9%.
Okay, interesting. Germany and Spain leading the charge there.
The UK is showing healthy growth, too, projected to hit $824 million. And the report also mentions, France, Italy, Russia, the Nordics, all contributing. It's a healthy market.
Healthy, maybe also a bit mature, like North America.
Seems that way, yeah. Solid, but maybe not the absolute fastest lane.
Right. Which brings us to the region that is in the fastest lane, according to the report, Asia Pacific. This is where it gets really interesting, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking for where the market's really accelerating, this is it. Asia Pacific is flagged as the fastest growing globally.
And the numbers back that up.
Big time. Revenue was over $5.2 billion in 2021. It's expected to more than double, hitting a massive $11 billion by 2033.
11 billion.
Yeah. The CAGR there is over 6.4%. That's significantly higher than other regions.
And why? What's driving that incredible pace?
Well, it connects back to those core drivers, but just, amplified. Think about the scale of development. China, of course, is a huge factor, already massive, and it's projected to hit over $3.2 billion by 2033. Just relentless urbanization continues there.
Right.
But here's maybe the most surprising fact, or one of them anyway. India.
India.
Yeah, India actually has the highest growth rate in the whole APAC region, over 7.2% CAGR.
Wow, over 7%.
It goes from about $760 million in 2021 to over $1.7 billion by 2033. Think about the construction boom happening there. It's incredible.
Building a new city every year, practically.
Feels like it sometimes.
Mhm.
And every building needs locks. Plus, you've got Singapore, Southeast Asia generally, all showing really strong growth, too. It's just
Yeah.
a powerhouse region for this market.
That really paints a picture. Okay, let's round out the globe. South America, what's the story there? Still seeing growth.
Yep, very healthy growth in South America, too. Projected to more than double revenue as well. It goes from just over $1 billion in 2021 to over $2.1 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR just over 6%.
So also growing faster than North America and Europe.
Right. Brazil's the biggest player, set to nearly double its market. But the report mentions others too. Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, all showing strong, consistent growth rates, mostly between 5.5% and 6.5%.
Okay. And the Middle East, we always hear about huge construction projects there. Does that show up in the locks market?
It absolutely does. Connects perfectly. The Middle East is projected to double its market too, basically. From around $630 million in 21 up to over $1.2 billion by 2033. The CAGR is almost 6%, so again, quite strong.
Driven by?
Places like Saudi Arabia, and especially the UAE. The UAE actually has the highest CAGR in that region, over 6.6%.
Makes sense, given the development in Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Exactly, a clear reflection of that construction boom.
Okay, last major region, Africa. What's the potential there?
Africa is starting from a smaller base, obviously, but it's also showing significant growth potential. It's projected to double its market value, too, from about $320 million in 2021 to over $650 million by 2033.
And who's driving that?
Primarily emerging economies like Nigeria and South Africa, plus general development across the rest of the continent. The CAGRs there range from about 4.4% up to 5.7%.
So really growth across the board, just at different speeds.
That's the picture, yeah. It really highlights how global this industry's expansion is.
So we've gone through all these numbers, region by region. Let's bring it back. What does this all really mean for us, for you listening? What's the big takeaway?
Well, I think the main point is that the locks market, despite seeming, maybe a bit mundane, is anything but static. It's actually a really robust, growing area, and it's being pushed forward by these, massive ongoing global shifts we talked about.
Like urbanization.
Right, rising urbanization, just more buildings needing more physical security. That's relentless demand.
Then the security needs themselves are growing.
Exactly. Sadly, a growing concern worldwide, which fuels demand for better, more sophisticated locks and systems.
And in the tech aspect, the smart locks.
Yeah, that technological shift is huge. It's not a fad. It's fundamentally changing how we think about and interact with security. It brings convenience, new features, integration possibilities, and all these trends together, they basically ensure this market is positioned for steady, continued growth.
Yeah.
It really reflects how society is evolving, both in needs and technology.
It is pretty eye-opening. You see an industry you completely overlook, but it's growing consistently, tied into these huge global trends. Understanding this gives you a fuller picture of global development, tech shifts, all happening behind literally locked doors.
It's a good reminder that even seemingly simple industries are part of this huge, interconnected global economy.
Definitely. So hopefully this deep dive gives you something to think about, maybe how you view the security around you, the sheer scale of things.
And maybe one final thought to leave you with, something to chew on.
Oh.
Well, with urbanization booming and smart tech advancing so fast, how might the whole idea of locking something away keep evolving, beyond just physical locks? What new challenges, what new innovations might that bring, not just for our homes, but our data, our digital selves?
That's a really interesting question. Where does security go next?
Exactly. Something to think about.
Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever really stopped to think about um, the humble lock?
Probably not enough.
Right. From the rusty padlock maybe on your old garden shed to, a slick biometric scanner guarding some high-tech server room, locks are absolutely everywhere.
Constantly evolving.
Exactly, often without us even noticing. So today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating and actually surprisingly dynamic global locks market.
It's a really interesting space right now.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We're going to extract the most important insights from our sources, mainly official data from cognitive market research.
Good stuff there.
Yeah, we want to understand what's truly driving this market, what challenges it's up against, and the big transformative trends shaping its future.
Mm.
The goal is basically to give you, our listener, a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, maybe with some surprising facts, some practical takeaways about an industry that, well, whether you realize it or not, impacts everyone.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how much this market has broadened. Understanding it really goes far beyond just the physical hardware now.
How so?
Well, it's about the convergence of security, convenience, and all this rapidly advancing technology. It's all coming together.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's kick this off then. What exactly is pushing this market forward right now? What are the main forces?
Well, one of the most significant forces is the increasing pace of urbanization and housing development. It's a big one,
Okay, more cities, more houses, more locks.
pretty much. As cities expand and homeownership keeps growing, across both developed and developing nations, we're seeing a direct boost in demand.
Makes sense.
And here's where it gets interesting. It's not just brand new homes. The data shows a significant uptick in demand from renovated properties too, especially in urban centers.
Ah, renovations. I wouldn't have immediately thought of that.
Yeah, consumers are increasingly prioritizing security and convenience in these existing structures. Often it's driven by trends like, say, the rise of short-term rentals.
Right, like Airbnb and things.
Exactly. They demand flexible, modern access solutions. So, yeah, renovations are a key part.
That's a great point, easy to overlook. So home security is a huge piece of this puzzle then.
Definitely.
But let's broaden our view a bit. Where else, beyond our front doors, are these advanced lock systems becoming absolutely essential?
Right. Well, beyond residential, the expansion of commercial and industrial infrastructure is another massive driver.
Okay, like what specifically?
Think about new office complexes, sprawling warehouses, schools, healthcare centers. Each of these facilities requires sophisticated locking systems.
More than just a deadbolt, I assume.
Oh, yeah. We're talking biometric access control, card-based entry, highly integrated hardware solutions. It gets complex.
And why is that? What's the need?
Well, these aren't just about keeping things locked down anymore. They're essential for maintaining really high levels of security, efficiently managing staff access, and critically,
Regulations.
you got it, complying with increasingly stringent safety and regulatory standards. Plus, facility managers are actively looking for solutions that also boost their overall operational efficiency.
Okay, so we've got homes, we've got businesses, infrastructure. What does all this mean for us as individuals, especially with tech creeping into every corner of our lives?
It directly leads us to the third key driver,
Yeah,
the surging demand for smart locks and home automation.
right. The smart home revolution.
Exactly. Tech-savvy consumers are no longer just looking for security. They're actively seeking convenience, remote access capabilities, keyless entry options,
Being able to unlock your door with your phone.
precisely, and seamless compatibility with their smartphones and existing home assistants like Alexa or Google Home.
Yeah.
And we see this demand really clearly in sectors like hospitality, particularly with rental properties, those Airbnb-style places again.
How so?
Digital locks offer just unparalleled flexibility and secure guest access. It's completely transforming how those businesses operate, really.
Okay, so a lot of positive momentum, a lot of growth drivers. But, every dynamic market has its hurdles, its roadblocks.
Absolutely.
What are the key restraints? What's holding back an even faster embrace of all these cool new technologies?
Well, the first major restraint is, frankly, the high cost of advanced locking solutions.
The price tag.
Yeah. Smart locks, biometric systems, they represent a sizable upfront investment. And it's not just the device itself.
The installation, too.
Exactly. Often you need specialized professional installation. And this higher cost, well, it often makes traditional mechanical locks just more appealing in many parts of the world.
So it slows down the smart lock adoption.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for, budget-conscious consumers or small businesses. That initial cost is a barrier.
I can certainly relate to that. But what about the practical side? I'm thinking of my own, like, older home. Is it really just a simple swap? Or are compatibility issues with older buildings a real problem?
Oh, that's a very real hurdle. Compatibility and retrofitting issues are definitely significant.
How so?
Older buildings frequently require specific modifications, sometimes even structural changes, just to accommodate smart locking systems.
So it's not plug and play.
Not always, no. These additional adjustments can make the whole upgrade process much more complex and, again, often more costly. So that naturally limits adoption, especially in aging infrastructure.
That makes perfect sense. Now, here's something I wonder about. As things get smarter, more connected, right, does that also mean we're introducing new kinds of risks?
That's a crucial question.
Like, what are the biggest security vulnerabilities smart locks face that maybe traditional ones didn't really have?
Yeah, and that brings us neatly to the third challenge, these growing concerns about cybersecurity and reliability.
Right, hacking.
Hacking, yeah. As locks become more interconnected through apps, through networks, risks related to hacking, software glitches, even simple things like battery failures become much more pressing.
Okay.
And here's a kind of surprising fact. Studies show that while over 70% of consumers say cybersecurity is a top concern when they think about buying a smart lock,
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
less than 15% actually bother to change the default passwords on the device.
Oh, wow. Really? That low?
Yeah, it's a huge gap, right? And it highlights a pretty significant vulnerability that the industry is, frankly, scrambling to address.
So people are worried, but maybe not taking the basic steps.
Kind of seems that way. And, in really high security environments or maybe remote locations where help isn't close by, trust in purely digital solutions might just not be sufficient.
So they keep a backup.
Often, yes, they retain robust mechanical backup systems, just in case.
That's fascinating. And yeah, somewhat alarming with that password statistic. But despite these hurdles, it still feels like the locks market is charging full steam ahead, embracing trends that are genuinely reshaping our whole idea of security.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Despite the challenges, the innovation is happening. One of the most exciting trends is the widespread adoption of IoT and cloud-enabled locking systems.
IoT, Internet of Things.
Exactly. Meaning devices like your lock can communicate with each other and with the cloud.
So what does that let you do?
Well, these systems allow users to monitor access, manage permissions remotely, even get real-time alerts on their phone, no matter where they are.
Ah, okay. Like seeing who unlocked the door and when.
Precisely. And in commercial settings, or like multifamily housing environments, this kind of centralized access control is becoming a genuine game changer,
Game changer how?
especially when it's integrated with broader smart building or even smart city infrastructure. It just offers so much more control and data.
So these locks aren't just standalone things anymore, are they? It's like they're becoming part of a much bigger, I don't know, symphony.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. The second major trend is that deep integration of smart locks into broader home automation ecosystems.
Okay, connecting to other smart stuff.
Exactly. These locks are specifically designed now to be compatible with popular platforms.
Hmm.
Think Alexa, Google Assistant, Apple HomeKit.
Right.
This lets homeowners do things like, lock their doors with just a voice command or create automated schedules for access.
Alexa, lock the front door.
Exactly that. Or get instant notifications if a door is opened unexpectedly. This seamless interoperability, it's a huge selling point as smart homes keep moving from being a niche luxury to more of a mainstream expectation.
And it seems like manufacturers are also listening to what we care about beyond just the tech and the convenience. There's like a broader awareness now, isn't there?
That's spot on. Yeah, the third significant trend we're seeing is manufacturers putting an increasing focus on sustainability and durability.
Okay, how does that play out in locks?
Well, it means prioritizing the use of eco-friendly materials in manufacturing, applying corrosion-resistant finishes to make sure the locks last longer, especially outdoors, and designing the electronics to be long-lasting and reliable.
So, better for the planet and longer lasting.
That's the goal. Customers are actively seeking reliable, low-maintenance solutions, but they also want products that align with their personal environmental values, and that's fundamentally reshaping how locks are designed, how they're made, and how they're marketed to.
Okay, so we've really journeyed through this dynamic locks market today. It's clearly driven by, well, global urban growth, all that expanding commercial development, and our own increasing desire for smart home adoption.
Mm-hmm. Big drivers.
All while navigating these significant challenges, like, yeah, the high costs, compatibility issues with older places, and these growing cybersecurity concerns we talked about.
Definitely a balancing act.
It really seems the future of locks, with strong growth expected and these innovations in materials and IoT integration, is, well, both secure and smart.
It is. And, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
As locks become more and more integrated into these vast digital networks, these smart ecosystems,
Hmm.
how might our personal definitions and even our societal definitions of security and privacy need to evolve? It's not just about physical access anymore, is it?
That's a powerful thought to chew on indeed. How do we define security when your lock is online?
Something to think about.
Definitely. Keep an eye out for these evolving trends in your own daily life. You might be surprised at how much you start to see. Thanks for diving deep with us.